Today we didn't lose.
Yeah, you did not play by. You played by and you won. I'm gonna tell you what. There's got to be a morning after. Remember the Poseidon Adventure, that movie? There is for fans of a lot of schools who tough weekends, but we're gonna put things in perspective today. We got Coach Ellis Johnson from over in South Carolina. He's gonna check in, break down the weekend's games. Kevin Scarbinsky, Hall of Fame writer from Birmingham, the Birmingham lead, Scarbo knows, and Big Ben, Gentle Ben, whatever you want to call him. I love this guy over in Savannah. Smoke, that's right. A native of Swainsboro, Georgia. Big Ben, and he's going to jump in with us as well. Going to break down all the games. Hey, hit the subscribe button. Smash the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Allow notifications on your Android and iPhone. We're getting, like, every day, this thing's really growing. You don't have any idea how important it is to us for you to subscribe, okay? We take this stuff so important. Like Brendan said the other day, we're so serious about delivering the best show every day. This is our job, okay?
That's what we do.
Our livelihood. We pay.
So all you got to do is hit this. You go to the QR code. You go into the chat. It's free. Just subscribe for free.
And it's
on
a great
YouTube.
Yeah, and we have unbelievable sponsors. We have the best partners, the best guests. So anyway, be ready. Get pen and paper handy, folks, because Coach Ellis Johnson's going to start off with us, and we're going to get to work. Pay attention. You might learn something. Be right back.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, man, we got the Coach Comm going. Remember those days, Coach? The headsets from down on the field. And nothing ever went wrong during a real game. Just no communication issues or anything. But glad you're okay, man. We were talking with you right before the show about that hurricane that whipped through Florida and Georgia and the Carolinas and East Tennessee. And I really am, I pray for people every day that they're going to be okay. And if they go through a tough time, you got to keep fighting through it. But I got another one out there in the Gulf right now. And we got a lot of college football being played. I think the only game I know of that was canceled was Appalachian State's game. I'll tell you what, they got hammered up there in Boone and Asheville. So if you can help those people, let's do it. We'll put the word out on the show. Coach, you watched a lot of football when you could. I know you didn't have power till yesterday about midday, but what were your takeaways from what you saw, what you read about over the weekend?
Well, and I actually listened to them on radio, which sometimes you can almost get a clearer picture if a guy does a great job on the air, and they did.
That's right.
But I think Alabama, I think they showed that they're probably explosive and talented and have a really good team. There's a lack of focus on that team, and I don't mean to have any negativity with a great performance, but there's a lack of focus, and they're not closing the thing out when they should have. And I thought the penalties and some of the between snaps, the celebrating, the clowning, and all that, they kind of lost focus in that ball game and just about lost the ball game.
Yeah.
Georgia, on the other hand, did not play well, and frankly, I don't think Georgia's as good as they were 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I do think they're going to have some other tight ball games down the line. But boy, they showed a lot of character. And Auburn, the Auburn game 2 weeks ago, they lost one. You could have gone in the film session and found 50 things that we did terrible.
Yeah.
This time, I thought they played a really good game. They just could not make plays at critical times. Got stopped on the I think it was on the 1 yard line in the early part of the game and missed two chip shot field goals early in the game. They don't throw one interception, but he throws the pick six at a time where he's just breaks you back.
Yeah.
So they played well overall, probably outplayed Oklahoma, but they didn't make the plays when they had to make them.
Yeah. Coach, I think it's fair to say most football games come down to 4 or 5 plays. It's always been like that. I was down there at the Auburn-Oklahoma game, and what I'm seeing, even though it was a loss, Auburn played their ass off. And you're right, critical plays hurt you. You missed those field goals. Towns Magoo, he's filling in for Alex McPherson, who did not miss last year. And Alex has got an older brother that kicks for the Bengals. Alex McPherson has been sick with some stomach illness, and he lost a ton of weight, and he hadn't kicked the game this year. But I think the toughest part for fans is, at least Auburn fans, is to go, oh, my God, we're 2-3. I'm starting to see signs that, like a stock, they're bouncing around. They're going to have a breakout. I don't think it's going to happen against Georgia, but the talent's coming in. I think you said it last week. These freshmen, what's it like when they come in as a 4-star or 5-star? A little bit of a learning curve. What'd you think about the way the defense is playing after that first touchdown against Oklahoma?
Well, overall, Auburn's still, I think they're ranked about 30, 31, 34, something like that in scoring defense. And for that reason, I think that's the most important team stat in college football because it tells you a lot about all 3 phases if you're holding points down. But I think they've got a chance to still pull out 6 wins, but it's going to be tough because right now they're getting ready to hit 3 road games in a row. And all 3 of those teams are playing at least top 20 football right now. Even Kentucky, 2 games they played back to back, they're playing really well right now. So they've got their work cut out for them. But I see a team that's trying to fight, trying to win. The puzzle for Coach and his staff is they've lost ball games, like I said, where you just play sloppy the whole time. And then they've lost ball games where they played great, except for about 8 to 10 plays. And it cost them a game against a good team. So it's frustrating, man. I'll tell you, the hardest job he's got right now is keeping those kids focused. It's not X's and O's.
Yeah, it's not easy. All right, Oxford. I was talking to my son, picking our games Saturday morning, and I was going back and forth. I said, man, something tells me Kentucky's going to come down there. Stoops, Blue Collar Bob out of Youngstown, Ohio, they're going to play a full 60. And then I said, Ole Miss, as talented as they are, they've not really been pushed in the first month, and they've gotten comfortable on easy street. But I still took dadgummit. I flipped my pick and took Ole Miss to cover. What'd you think about that one? Don't remember when we were kids, don't change the answer. How many times did your mom tell you that?
Well, I don't know if it was on this show or not, but I said last week a couple of times that I thought this was going to be double-digit win for Ole Miss. So I blew it straight up, and I didn't change my mind. I thought that the whole week. But they were able somehow to slow down Ole Miss's offense. And when I say that, I don't mean necessarily in yards. They slowed the pace. And it's 2 things you have to do if you want to go fast with these real speed-up offenses. You got to make yards on first down because that's when you get your fast plays rolling. And you got to have a lot of snaps. And that means third downs. And if you go back and look, Kentucky just did a great job on first down and third down. And I think Ole Miss ended up running under 60 plays.
Yeah.
That's unheard of in his offense. It frustrates Lane. He can't get a rhythm. He can't get his setup plays going. And whatever Stoops he's done these last 2 weeks defensively, they're playing well enough to stop anybody in the country. I'd love to see them match up on Tennessee right now and see if they'd slow them to a crawl. But this one surprised me, man. I really did. I missed this one totally. And I think that the credit goes to Stoops and Kentucky. I think they played an unbelievable defensive game.
I thought that pass by Brock Vandegrift late in the game was the most that was a great pass. I mean, he couldn't have done it any better. And after his slow start this year, he fought back. I mean, that's mental toughness, isn't it?
Yes, he made some really good throws. And I the last couple of games, I've seen them doing some good things, moving the pocket a little bit and changing up their protections. I think South Carolina taught them a lesson. They probably underrated South Carolina. They got those 2 real good edge rushers that are young kids. Nobody had seen them yet. and boy, they demolished Kentucky, and they couldn't get him time to throw the football, and he's not very mobile. And I just that to me, I think Kentucky's done a really good job since that game of getting some change ups in their protections, moving the pocket over a little bit, sliding things, and he's been a lot better. And if their offense can score 20 something points and not turn the ball over, they're going to win a bunch of ball games because of their defense.
Yeah, and I looking at another game I thought was kind of interesting. I think Texas was maybe a 45-point favorite over Mississippi State, and I was like, man, a lot of things got to happen just right to cover a 45-point line. And Mississippi State lost, I think, 35-6. Texas, that's their first SEC game as a member of the conference. What can you take away from that other than they won? They didn't cover, but they won.
Yeah, I think Texas is fine. Don't forget they're not playing their starter, and their backup guy is better than 90% of the quarterbacks in the NCAA. But I do think that they're still every game. This is probably the fewest points they've scored, and it wasn't close. The one thing I do say, it's a very, very difficult situation if you're in Levy's shoes with a team that's is struggling, and you got to play a team that's just tremendously better than you are, and to go down and still play hard and do things right. I think he's probably got the program going in the right direction. They're just a couple of recruiting classes away, unless they land some surprise out of the portal. But I think it shows that Mississippi State's fighting and still, they're not giving up on their season. And it's a big picture outlook, I guess, where they're going to keep trying to improve and go through the season.
Coach, other game, LSU did what they needed to do against South Alabama. Arkansas, Texas A&M, the curse of Jerry World is what my Arkansas friends call it. I think they've lost 10 out of 11 out there. Next year it goes back to campus. It's going to be in Fayetteville in that series. Arkansas is really close. I mean, they lost a close one when they were up, I think 21-0 at Oklahoma State. And they got out in this one ahead and couldn't hold on to the lead. I don't think look, I'm a big Travis Williams fan out of Spring High School over in Columbia. I think he's a damn good coordinator. And I think Marcus Woodson's a really good secondary coach. I think Arkansas, they've been in every game they've played this year. What was your takeaway from that? And Mike Elko, he seems very, very comfortable in his role at A&M. But what's your takeaway? Kevin's in here.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Travis. And Travis was my graduate assistant when I was at Auburn, and I knew he was going to be a heck of a football coach.
Yeah,
and a great young man too. But they're hanging around the top 35 or so in scoring defense too.
Yeah,
Arkansas is. But I think the story here, Mike Elko, they had a loss early in the season against the team. That everybody was watching that game. Good matchup. He's quietly now 4-1.
Yeah,
and they're still sitting there in the picture to sneak in the playoffs if they can keep winning. He's had to deal with some things at quarterback and other issues, and everybody kind of wrote him off early on. I think that, I think this kind of tells you about Mike Elko a little bit. And with the schedule, it's not devastating the rest of the way. Yeah. I look at some of these guys in Auburn. I mean, man, they've got a gauntlet still left.
Murderer's row. You just go ahead.
Yeah. They got a chance to love it. Sneaky.
Yeah, Coach. I think the schedule that Auburn, it starts Saturday. It's hard to believe Auburn's a 24.5-point underdog at Georgia. Kevin Scarbinsky, Birmingham lead. Scarbo knows. Just one of the best people around at covering sports and a great guy. Jumping here with Coach Ellis Johnson.
Well, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Kevin, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Still hanging around. Still loving this game we call college football.
Well, you hadn't had a chance to write anything bad
Kevin,
about me in 15 or 20 years.
I believe I wrote a lot more good things about you, Ellis, and the programs you were associated with, because usually there was winning attached if you were involved.
Well, we had good days and bad days, but the bad ones I was well deserved.
Kevin, we're looking at this this past weekend's games, and Coach did a great job of breaking them down. You look at any game that really stuck out at you, and Kevin, Coach, I think something you said was spot on, and Alabama just not knowing how to close out and just letting Georgia hang in there. Is that how you saw it, Kevin? Because I mean, they got the win. But when you're up 28-0 and you have to play down to the last few seconds, that's not what you want. I wouldn't think. As a coach, I bet it drove Coach Johnson crazy.
I bet it did the same to Coach DeBoer on the sideline watching that unfold. You know, obviously there's a natural human tendency when you jump on a team the way they did to sort of relax a bit. You may not even know you're doing it. You may not be doing it intentionally. But when you start the way Alabama started, I don't know that I've ever seen a team do to a Kirby Smart team what Alabama did to them early. But you have to know those guys are champions on that other sideline for a reason. They're not going to roll over and let you rub their belly and just decide the game's over and start looking ahead to the next one. They're going to fight to the last second, and obviously they did. And in some ways, this was a perfect game for both coaches. Obviously, if you're Kirby, you don't want to lose it. But you've got a lot of teaching points that you can emphasize at practice going forward. And the same for Kalen DeBoer, even though they won the game. And that's what you really want, right, Ellis? So you win a game, but still have a lot of reasons for your players to listen to what you have to say and not think that they've arrived, not think that they've solved the Rubik's Cube of being a great football team. They've still got a lot of work to do and a lot of improvement to make. So really for Alabama, I thought they kind of won the game twice, it seemed like. They won it early, then they had to show some toughness, some stuff inside after Georgia took the lead. And, of course, it didn't take them long to take it back because – my goodness, that quarterback is special, and that freshman receiver, Ryan Williams. You remember a guy named David Palmer, Ellis. He's the closest thing I've seen to a David Palmer, and I don't know if I can give a better compliment in terms of just incredible athletic ability.
Yeah, Coach Ellis Johnson, I was talking with Gary Harris yesterday, who's in Tuscaloosa, Channel 23 and Tide 100.9. More of a combination. He thinks Ryan Williams is like Devontae Smith and Deuce Palmer together. That's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know anybody that's better with the ball already in their hands than David Palmer. I mean, he's a magician. I ran into Trent Swimley the other day at Clemson's practice, and we're just catching up on all those guys. And but David's coaching, so we're now helping coach a little bit. But I tell you, once he got the ball in his hands, I'll put him up against anybody. But the Ryan Williams kid, I mean, straight ahead, straight line speed. These guys are like some of the guys they've had over the last 5 or 6 years. If they catch the ball with any space, you're going to have a hard time. You better have a great angle. You better have the sideline right there to help you. You can't tackle these guys in open field. I mean, it's just almost impossible.
Yeah. Coach, I got to ask you a question, and I think Kevin would agree. Are they not – I mean, how have we allowed it that we're not doing Oklahoma drills in practice? We're not doing tackling drills and fundamentals. You, as a coach, could still get out there and do it like that. You've been doing it hell, you graduated from the Citadel. That tells me you're a badass right there. I mean, that's tough as nails to do that. But mentally, you are as sharp as a 30-year-old. And I don't know, I mean, but your mind on this stuff, the way you break this stuff down, it's special. How the guy that tried to tackle Ryan Williams the other day, give credit to Ryan, he's only 17. I mean, we all remember when our kids were 17 and 18 compared to a 23 or 24-year-old, which is what a lot of these college kids are now because of the virus. Hell, in the case of Brigham Young, late 20s or early 30s. But I think that's contributing to some of the poor tackling. It's got to be, isn't it?
Well, it's very difficult to duplicate something like that on a practice field. And the only way you can come close is you tackle your own best players on your team. That ain't very smart. October, you don't want players on a practice field. And I guess this is my stand. It's the coaches are not working. The game is more spread out. And so there's some faster kids back in the old days. There were an 85-pound receiver, and there's so much field. Game is more. Therefore, you're gonna have they're more missiles in approach position on these guys to hem them up, if you will. Now, the broken tackles, you see guys make good contact and then they don't finish it. They can't get a guy on the ground. I think that is something that's, you got to practice and you got to spend more time on it. But the old Oklahoma drills, I mean, everybody does it a little bit early in the season. Just find out, it's tough.
Yeah. Whoops, we lost him. Kevin, we all know that player safety is paramount. It always has been. Coach, we lost you there for just a second. Are you back?
Yep. I had a phone call breaking.
Okay.
I had to clear it.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. But you were talking about the Oklahoma drills, how they do it early in the season, find out who's tough. And that's where we kind of pick up. Yeah.
I mean, that's a thing where you kind of develop a little attitude and such. You can't do those things deep into the season. You're going to lose a kid in practice, and that's one of the worst things that can happen. But it's not the fact that people are not trying to work on it. It's just the fact that the game's played in space now, and you're going to see more missed tackles. There's just no way around it.
Yeah, that's why I love having you on here. I love that, guys. Your insight. Kevin, jump back in.
Well, that's why. And Nick Saban recognized this, about a decade ago when he hired Lane Kiffin and asked him to retool his offense. He realized that, what did they call Alabama, their way they played football, joyless murder ball. They just overwhelmed you with strength and physicality, and, they would hit you in the mouth. And, guys like Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram and guys up front like James Carpenter and Barrett Jones, it was just they just overwhelmed you physically. But as the game moved, as you said, Ellis, more and more into space, he realized that was how you were going to have to win football games. He would, if you ask Nick Saban, he'd rather win, I think, 14-10 than 41-34 in an ideal world. But you have to adapt. That's what successful coaches do, and he certainly did. And that's why, really going forward, and even at the moment, I think Kalen DeBoer is looking more and more like the right choice for Alabama because he is an offensive mind. He understands how to get the ball to those playmakers, how to get those one-on-one matchups in space. And he's certainly inherited the playmakers and brought in the playmakers. He brought Ryan Williams back into the fold after he decommitted when Nick retired. So he understands how the game is played today. And when you look at his record against Steve Sarkisian, he's 2-0. Against Dan Lanning, who interned, if you will, or learned at the right hand of Kirby Smart as his defensive coordinator. He's 3-0 against Dan Lanning, and now he's 1-0 against Kirby. So that's a pretty impressive 6-0 against that caliber of coach. And he's doing it primarily on the offensive end.
Yeah.
Coach, I want to ask you about one other game coming up this week. Missouri, now they had to go to double overtime to beat Vanderbilt. And Clark Lee talked at SEC Media Days about every player on his roster now signed with him and his staff. They are part of that culture. And the Vanderbilt culture, Tim Corbin, Chris Lee, who covers Vanderbilt on this show with us, Southeastern 16, Vandy Rivals, he said Corbin got so disgusted with the Vanderbilt culture, he moved the baseball program to their own separate building, and it's worked out pretty damn well for him. And there's nothing worse after a loss than people that are still bitching and complaining. Talk about that mental part of it, the toughness, and then Missouri going and playing at Texas A&M, because I think that's the highlight game in the SEC this week.
You make a good point. I kind of put a little asterisk by that one. I mentioned a while ago that I think Texas A&M and Elko, they sneakily 4-1 right now.
Yeah.
And playing really good football, and had to overcome some things with the quarterback questions early on, and it seems like it's settled down a little bit. It's a big game, and then Missouri, I think, had an open date, so that's going to be an
They did.
advantage. But they got to go to Texas A&M, and I think they're undefeated. But I think Texas A&M's got a heck of a shot to upset them, and if it does, I think it pushes them up in that top half a little bit. So it's not a make or break game for either team or either program, but I think it's a statement game, and it certainly is going to be a momentum game if Texas A&M can win it. Missouri was fortunate to win a game last time out. And like they have had an open day, but they were very lucky to win the last time they played against Vandy.
Yeah.
And they're not playing as well as they were early in the season. So there's some question marks there. And I think this is Texas A&M's chance to turn it into a really good season.
Yeah. I'm going to say, Coach, I don't know if you've had a chance to see Diego Pavia play for Vanderbilt. Auburn fans remember him from New Mexico State last year as their quarterback. I think pound for pound, he is the toughest guy that you'd want to go into a fight in a bar with at 3 a.m. I mean, every time he comes on the field, wouldn't you love to coach this guy and write about him, Kevin? I'm the best player on the field on either side of the line of scrimmage. If you're not confident, what the hell are you, Coach?
I mean, I agree with you. He was definitely the best quarterback on the field the last time out.
Yeah.
And Brady Cook's supposed to be one of the best, but
Yeah.
he really does. He has that confidence and that attitude, if you want, in a leader, and he backs it up. He plays well.
Yeah.
I don't know, and Ellis, I'd be curious to know if you've ever seen a college quarterback at the major college level, at the SEC level, that was a high school state wrestling champion. That's on his resume. That tells you about his toughness.
I haven't. I tell you, wrestling is a great high school sport, and we always had it in South Carolina, which we don't have a lot of sports, but high school wrestling was a big deal. And when I would recruit some other areas, Alabama didn't have it, high school wrestling. And I would always ask if the kid wrestled or played other sports. But you're exactly right. That's a little unusual combination.
Well, Coach, wrestling used to be a big deal at Auburn. Swede Umbaugh was a great wrestling coach there. And why do I remember this? My dad always says, boy, you got stuff in your head. I don't know where it comes from. But Swede Umbaugh won 39 SEC championships at Auburn. And when Shug Jordan was the coach in the offseason, they didn't go in these, training complexes and have trainers and lift weights. My dad walked on briefly in the spring of 50 or 51 and studying architecture. And he said, I played about 3 weeks. I said, I was good in high school, but not Auburn good. He said they'd wake us up about 4:30 in the morning. But he said in the off season, Coach Jordan said, you either wrestle or you swim. And until the early 1980s, you could not graduate from Auburn unless you passed the swim test. And wrestlers, I'm with you, man. You get a lineman that's a wrestler. Hey, and look what college football prepared Bill Goldberg from Georgia for. I mean, a great career as a wrestler. I mean, but the leverage, and you get a guy that's a shot putter or a discus thrower, Coach. I think track and field is your insurance policy for every sport you play. Would you agree, guys, both of y'all?
I guess I'd tell you now, one reason Alabama had wrestling is because Coach Bryant had about 10 more scholarships on football.
Well,
Bill Oliver told me he came to Alabama on baseball scholarship and had to play the first year, to kind of cook the books a little bit. But that's where some of the rules came in, that football's number one. If you play football in any other sport, it's counting on football.
Well,
that's where that rule came from.
I had some friends of mine that were at Ole Miss back in the day when for a swim team, you had to put out a swim team. So they would have these 300-pound linemen jumping off the diving board in the diving competition doing cannonballs and belly flops. Priceless stuff. But, Coach, I know you got to go. But Ben Troupe was an All-American at Florida for Coach Spurrier and Ron Zook and played in the NFL for about 5 years. I don't know if you've met Coach Ellis Johnson before, Ben, but he's been defensive coordinator at Clemson, actually at Mississippi State, Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina. He has got a great resume, and he's got a son who's a preferred walk-on over there with Dabo at Clemson now. So Ben is from Swainsboro, Georgia, Coach Johnson. But say hello, and Coach will let you go with a parting bit of wisdom about the coming of the season.
I'm very well aware of Ben. I've never met him. I don't think I have, except he was over there in uniform when I was trying to coach and stop the offense he was on. And
Yeah.
most of the time, we didn't get it done.
Yeah. Well, we love it. And Coach, look, thank you so much for coming on. If by the way, during the week, if you know of any efforts to help people over there in the area that got hammered by that hurricane, if you will text me, Brendan and I will put that up on the show. We ain't here for any other reason than to get out great information, have the best guests on the show, and to help our audience, because we have built and we're continuing to build a family culture. But thank you so much for sharing your time with us. The insight is priceless. I don't have enough gold in the bank to do that.
Well, I appreciate it. I will do that about the storm victims.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you next Monday, Coach. Golly, Ben, Kevin Scarbinsky on here for the Birmingham Lead. What a weekend of football. I hated down there at Auburn watching that loss. Met a ton of Oklahoma fans, by the way. And every one of them said, I have never been treated better on a road game. Okay, is the rest of the SEC like this? I said, you betcha. but no,
you had your fingers crossed behind your back. You said
they were everywhere. I mean, Boomer Sooner. And it was a fun weekend. Florida, they beat by and no game. You got UCF coming in, and Kevin, the Gus Busters, they're going to show up, the Fighting Sweater Vests. Ben, Florida, you know what I would be showing my football team if I were Billy Napier Friday night is either Gladiators or the 300, about the Spartans, because you cannot lose this game at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, Florida Field. It's unlosable. Talk about that.
It's gonna be a tough one. I mean, obviously Colorado didn't make things better for my Gators the way they was able to go in there and get a big win. And I mean, I don't know if it's a bunch of Travis Hunters walking around. They don't got too many people, let alone players, that play the way he's able to play and what he means to that team and to that offense. But I think for Florida, every week is going to be like this. Billy Napier, I think he understands now. We're going to be saying this for the rest of the season. He got to win this game. He got to win this game because I think when you look at, I think Auburn and Oklahoma is a good example. Oklahoma get to hear the fact that, look, man, do we belong in the SEC? Well, Auburn is a blue blood. We got to show that we can get it done, because obviously we didn't get it done against Tennessee. I can only imagine what the Oklahoma dealt with when they go up against, Tennessee and they lose that game. So Auburn was another test to say, hey, every week we are playing to show that we belong here. Coach Venables has been recruiting for SEC schools since he's been here, since he came into the game. But I think that Billy Napier, if he hasn't got the memo yet, he doesn't out. Listen, his wife has to love him. She married him. She got to love him. I got to love him because he's a part of Gator Nation. But if we're being honest, UCF wants to be in the same conversation as Florida State, and Miami. Since Gus Malzahn came to UCF to say, I want to be a Big Four, not a Big Three. And it's going to take more than what happens on Saturday to get that done. But Gus Malzahn didn't come to UCF to be a second fiddle at all. He is saying, look, we're going to compete. I think they play Florida State. They're going to eventually play all the schools that's supposed to be the flagship schools in the state of Florida to say, not only can we compete with these guys, we're good enough to beat them. Now it's going to be a show on Saturday, because I think for Gus Malzahn he comes with a proven pedigree. You know what type of coach he is. Whoever makes sweater vests is the same people that make the khakis for Coach Harbaugh. They're going to be in business as long as Gus Malzahn is a coach. But I like the matchup. I think for a Florida team, you got to be able to say to yourself, man, who are we? And I don't know if the 2-quarterback system is going to work with a defense that's going to come in really, really mad from what happened on Saturday. But I've always respected Coach Malzahn. I think he's the guy that doesn't get enough credit for what he means, not just to the program that he coaches, but how he coaches, how he recruits. And like I said, UCF, it used to be a time Florida State, and Miami, they're losing recruits to go to UCF now. I think that's the Gus Malzahn effect. And if you're talking about who's the best coach in Florida, I would say it is Malzahn because of what he's done and what he's doing. I just think that he don't got the same notoriety as Florida State, and Miami as of right now.
All right, Kevin, jump in here on that.
Well, having watched Gus closely during his entire time at Auburn, having gotten to know him. If you think that because, or if anyone thinks, anyone in the Florida football building thinks because they got stomped by Colorado, that they're going to be down, they're going to be hanging their heads, they're not going to come out with their best effort, Gus Malzahn. And all you've got to do is ask Nick Saban how Gus Malzahn handles in-state rivalry games. Beat him 3 times while he was at Auburn and didn't always have the better team in each of those games. Yeah. And so you got to expect UCF is going to come out and they're going to give you their best selves on Saturday. And if you're Billy Napier, you've already gotten embarrassed by an in-state rival once this year by Miami in your own backyard. You can't let that happen again. As much howling as we've heard from Florida fans, and as you mentioned before, Rob, both my sons, Ben, go to UF. So they hear it. They're there. They're in the stadium. They're watching the games. They hear what the students are saying as they're coming in and what they're saying when they're going out. It would not do well for Billy Napier to lose this game.
Yeah. Ben, that's a good take. And Kevin's covered a lot. He's also U.S. Basketball Writers Hall of Fame inductee 2 years ago at Houston in the Final Four in Birmingham, which is the epicenter of college football. And I'm with him. You're right about Gus. He'll drive you crazy, but damn it, Auburn never had a losing season when he was there. Auburn and Florida, Auburn is mired in the worst cycle of football since the post-World War II era. Auburn, was bad. And my dad said when he was there, they fired Earl Brown, the football coach, and he was a nice man, a gentleman, a Notre Dame man, good-looking man, looked like a movie star. Dad said, we were over at the KA house across the street from the president's mansion. Governor Person was sworn in as governor of Alabama, and his first thing he did in office was to fire the Auburn football coach and bring Shug Jordan back from Georgia to take over the football program. And they went downtown. Ralph Beard, the athletic director, and him took out a $100,000 loan at Auburn Bank on a handshake and started a hell of a run. This game for Florida, Billy Napier, as a player, you were there for Steve Spurrier and then the Zucker. You persevered. You hung in there and you fought your ass off, and finally you got to be a starter. And you got drafted what? Late first, early second round?
Early second round, 40th overall.
Okay. See, I bet you remember what you were wearing when that happened. It's a pretty big day. I don't know anybody that's been drafted. No, I do. I know a few people, and they all tell me, I can tell you I was drinking this and I was eating this. Let's talk about the mindset of Florida right now, and then I want to bounce around the league because there's a bunch of games I want to cover.
Florida better understand that. I always say this. You better be able to punch back because UCF going to punch you, and they're going to keep punching, and they don't care because, listen, when spit becomes blood, that's going to be the difference in winning and losing. We used to hit it all the time. Everybody don't want to deal with that red stuff, and UCF do not mind bleeding. And I think for Florida, sometimes, it's a test every week. The chapter, the 5th chapter of Florida is going to happen this weekend. UCF is a good team. UCF can compete with anybody. Gus Malzahn is the type coach that said, dude, we only play you on the schedule if they don't want to play us, because we'll play them. We will play them. I think for Florida, the mindset is we got to be, hey, no more excuses. We got veterans and we got youngsters on this team. We win. We've had ups and we had downs, right? We got to go out there and, show out. I know the fans going to say one thing. You got to you got to quiet that noise, because the only thing that's going to matter is going to be between them lines. And like I said, it took me a long time to realize that as a player, I control between the lines. The coaches, they give me the plays we got to execute. The best teams execute the best. I know we're going to get to that Georgia-Alabama game. I don't know who this Ryan Williams kid is. Good.
Oh, I do.
And the reason why I say it is, I got to college when I was 17. He is 17. He's supposed to be in high school right now. But if I'm missing Alabama 2 years in a row, what else can I do in the state of Alabama? And then the thing about it is, sometimes he's too young to understand the magnitude. He goes, look, I get open on DBs. I don't care what color jerseys they got on. I respect them. But what he did, that last touchdown, people can't do that. Like, he called it, stop. I said, who is it? So for me, I think that when I look at Florida, right, they don't have a player like that, right? But Nobody does. Let me say that. Nobody does outside of maybe Travis Hunter. So let me say that. But Florida, you got to say to yourself, I want to make a play this weekend. Not who's going to make it. Hey, man, somebody got to make a play because, like I said, Kevin can speak to this. It comes down to moments. Football is moments.
Yeah.
I'm at Atlanta versus New Orleans yesterday. When Young Way came in there, I said, "Come on, cool. We gonna think about this. We need to kick a 57. It was really a 58. Think about that for a second. Young Way, we need you to kick half the field for a field goal. Now, can't nobody do it but him. Thank God he did it because my wife is a Saints fan. May God bless her soul. She is. And I think for me, who want to make a moment? Because we ain't gonna remember every single play, every single game. Malzahn is saying, "Hey man, let's go make a moment up here in Gainesville. That's gonna live on forever." Or let's be a part of this, this tradition. Because Malzahn respects Florida. He ain't scared of him, and I think for Florida, they better respect UCF. Yeah. Once again, I'm gonna have to be off of X and Instagram all Saturday if it goes the wrong way. Because, like I said, outside of Mrs. Napier, who has to spend life with Billy, we are not bonded to Billy forever. But we'll see what happens on Saturday.
Uncommon and Unfinished is a great book. It's a story of Ben Troupe's life, and get it, folks, and order it. Ben, where?
Man, they can go to bentroupe.com and order. But the best place to order anywhere, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes, everywhere major books are sold. I'm not saying I'm a major book. I'm in the major bookstore. Definitely go out there and get you a copy of it. It's a story about a country boy who's trying to figure out life, and who me and my dad had parallel lives. It just took me becoming a grown man to understand. As my father told me, he would say, "Son, it takes a man to understand a man." And when I became one, I understood a lot of things he was saying. And listen, he said the greatest thing you ever did for me is put grand in front of daddy. I'm a granddaddy now because of you. And like I say, his grandkids do not know the man I knew. Them jokers spoiled rotten. They said they call him Papa. I called him Daddy then. I call him Daddy now. But I think Uncommon Unfinished is a book about everybody. I think everybody can like see themselves in my book, and hopefully, people see the person. It ain't a lot of football stories in there, people. Sorry to disappoint you. And when the book first came out, my publisher had it in red and black. I said, "Sir, you do not know who I am if you don't switch that red and black." And I'm a Falcons fan, but Georgia's also red and black. Not happening. It's got to go to orange and blue. It could have been burnt orange. It couldn't be in red and black though. No sir.
But hey, Kevin, one of the funniest things Ben's ever said is, as a lifelong Atlanta Falcons fan, he goes, "When I die, who do you want to take you to your grave?"
Listen, in my will, I put it. The Atlanta Falcons gonna be my pallbearers, and the reason they're gonna let me down one last time, just let me down one last time into the grave. Because, like I said, listen. I'm from the state of Georgia. I am Braves, Falcons, right? Hawks. Now Atlanta United. And for me, my granddaddy told me. He said, "You do two things in this life." He said, "What?" He said, "My granddaddy said you don't disrespect women, right? And you do not root for the Yankees. You do not do it." And I don't do it. Never will do. I'm like Ken Griffey Jr. Never rooting for them Yankees. But no, man. I mean, I married a beautiful lady, but she's a Saints fan. We had the game yesterday, and she got on Saints gear. She don't order Saints like Converse off Amazon. I'm like, "Are we riding in the same car?" She's like, "Yeah, they're gonna be a car together." Like, yeah,
I love it.
Sat in the same area, but hey, we got cool. Listen, I love you to the moon. Cool. 58 yards, we will take it because Kyle Pitts had 0 catches for 0 yards. I blame Kirk Cousins for that. That is ridiculous. And we still won the game.
Hey, let me switch one here. I like Blind Squirrel Sports. We got to get this guy to come on one of these round tables. I don't know where he lives, but he loves his show. If Kirby could have beaten Nick Saban 3 times, Smart probably has 4 national championships at Georgia. Now, he didn't, but here's the interesting stat. Alabama is 9-1 in the last 10 matchups against Georgia. And Georgia is one of the best programs in the country. Texas is making a lot of noise out there on the western flank, Kevin. But it's still Alabama that they got that win Saturday night with 100,000 plus there. Let's talk about this SEC race. Kevin, I'm going to throw it kind of back and forth here, rapid fire. Kevin, give me your top 4 SEC teams right now, taking into account the the offenses of this past weekend, especially at the Vault in Oxford?
Well, I think it's pretty clear right now. I think the top three are pretty clear. I think Alabama, Texas, and Georgia have separated themselves from the rest. Tennessee has a chance, and I probably would give the Vols that nod for the fourth spot. Ole Miss clearly took a big step back when Kentucky hit them in the mouth, as they did to Georgia before that. You better buckle up when you play Kentucky, which is why Auburn's October schedule, they may not win again until they get back to Jordan-Hare. They don't go back to Jordan-Hare until November because they got to go
Vanderbilt.
They got to go to Georgia this week, an angry bunch of dogs between the hedges. Then you got to go to Missouri. Then you get a week off, and then you get to go to Lexington, where Georgia was lucky to escape a couple of weeks ago. So the league, it looks like we've got those. Like I said, those three have separated themselves. Maybe Tennessee can join them. We'll find out. That's why I thought it was more important for Georgia to win Saturday than Alabama. Neither team's would have been eliminated with a loss, and Georgia's obviously not out of anything with a loss. But when you look at who they have left to play, because Georgia still has to go to Texas. Georgia, and despite what happened on Saturday in Vaught-Hemingway, Georgia still has to go to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Alabama's got to go to Knoxville, to Baton Rouge, which looks like their two toughest games left. I think it's more likely Georgia loses again. I think Alabama's got a better road. I don't think anybody's going to go undefeated. Everybody's going to drop at least one, I would suspect. Although Texas, somebody in the SEC office likes Texas because they got the softest possible schedule for their introduction to the SEC. Oklahoma, on the other hand, did not, because they've got to play Alabama later. But it's interesting. I think we're now getting a sense of who these teams are.
Yeah.
And that group of playmakers that Alabama has, I've said it for weeks, they're the most explosive offensive team in the country. And I love the way Kirby said Jalen Milroe, if he played running back, might be the best running back in the country. And then you put that rocket of a right arm as well into the package, and he was special. I mean, that was what he and Carson Beck ended up with. It was 939 yards of total offense between the two of them. That was Archie Manning, Scott Hunter, 1969 stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
Right there. But Milroe is special. He's improved, which you thought he would with Kalen DeBoer as his head coach. And you said it, Ben. Ryan Williams. Rob, I'm the one who said if David Palmer and Devontae Smith had a child, it would be Ryan Williams.
Yes.
He does stuff other human beings, even in the NFL, can't do and don't do.
Yeah. He's scary.
You get him the ball, and if you get him the ball in space, and you might as well just start moving the scoreboard.
Yeah.
6 points to higher. It's ridiculous how good and talented he is. I saw him do the same thing against Alabama high school players the last 2 years in the state championship game for Saraland. He should be playing for Saraland again this year, but he wasn't going to get any better doing that. And they're college. I want to see a matchup between Travis Hunter trying to go one-on-one covering Ryan Williams.
Yeah.
That would be, I'd pay cash money for that.
Yeah, it will be. And let me say something. We were in Chelsea yesterday, right outside of Birmingham, getting lunch. Kevin met these couple that owns a new car wash called The Big Drip. Check this place out. I've never seen a car wash like this. Just like to recognize, people we meet out there. Also want to say something about our great sponsors, the Vitamin Shop down in Olive Branch in Oxford, Mississippi. I use this prebiotic every morning. You drink it in your coffee for your gut health. Try this stuff out. I also use the shot blocks. I pop them when I'm biking, swimming, even when I'm running. You can even take them when you're on a long trail run or something. Also, GOO. They've got pre-workout, post-workout stuff. The Vitamin Shop, Oxford and Olive Branch, Mississippi. The staff actually knows what they're doing. All of our sponsors, you can find them sidelines.live on our website. And like web-footed kennels up in Jonesboro, Arkansas, my friend Chris Aiken, the best dog training for your hunting dogs. He's even training my friend from down in Anniston, Alabama's German wirehair. He's got him doing 150 and 200-yard marks. Nobody else can do that except for Chris Aiken, web-footed kennels in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Ben Troupe, your top 4 SEC schools. And again, tell your friends about this show, folks. We do it Monday through Friday. over 250 shows a year. We were going to do a live show last weekend. The hurricane kind of interrupted that, but we still went down there. But Ben, your top 4 in the SEC and why?
Yeah, I have the same as Kevin. Alabama, Texas, Georgia, and even though they took a little hit, I'll say Ole Miss. I like Ole Miss, but I think Tennessee will be my 4th, and for this reason, Georgia is still one of the best teams in the country. It ain't but so many schools can beat them. Alabama just happens to be one of them, and if it take that, I mean, because people say that, I would say this: if Georgia is up there, if Georgia goes into the locker room up like that, that game isn't close in the second half. That game isn't close in the second half. So I like Tennessee, but this is the thing about Tennessee, right? Tennessee is they boxers, right? It's not how many fights you had; it's who you fought. They ain't fought Alabama yet. They ain't. Yeah. I think it's going to be a great game. There is some of the greatest atmospheres in college football. I hate to say it. Knoxville is one of them. When they good, that stadium is rough. As a person that's been there twice, I think the thing about – I do agree with Kevin on Jalen Milroe. The thing about him is he's what the quarterback position is becoming. Everybody can't do that now. Everybody – I remember when I played, everybody want that statue, sit in the pocket and just pick people apart. Well, to help your offensive line, you got to know how to improvise. I don't know if it's a Gator improvising the world in Jalen Milroe, what he's able to do, because he's not a little guy. Like, he's built kind of like a running back, and the only thing that scares me about Jalen is he don't run from contact. He runs to it. That could work in college. Jalen, listen, go watch Hard Knocks with Caleb Williams and company. Learn how to slide. No one's going to care. We need you for every single play. Now, they got a quarterback in Tennessee that's pretty good. Really, really good. And I think he's built for what that offense wants to do. Georgia, Carson Beck is under some unfair, criticism right now because he's getting judged on what Georgia is supposed to do. And I'm gonna keep saying this. Love Carson Beck, and I hated that I was right. I said when Georgia won the national championship, the quarterback was going to be from Georgia, grew up in Georgia, and wanted to play for Georgia. That was Stetson Bennett. Might be the greatest story ever in college football. I love Carson Beck. But I think for Carson Beck is like the offensive coordinator for Georgia. No matter what he does, you wait on him to make a mistake to validate how you feel. Well, I don't think he's an excellent quarterback. He just went up against when great coaches meet great coaches, the better coach will win. I think Georgia has a great coach. I think Alabama's coach is just a little bit better because Alabama is used to winning. Georgia is getting used to doing all this winning. Alabama been doing it. Plug them in there. They got a 17-year-old who's supposed to be getting ready to go to the prom in 2025. He's ripping up defenses and charismatic. So and like I said, I do think Ole Miss had a hiccup because I think that's the difference, right? Georgia, expectations, they're used to it. Alabama, they invented expectations. Ole Miss, this is a different year for them. Everybody's expecting them to go to Atlanta, be one of the last team standing, but the one that's going to break up the party is Texas. I mean, I know that Ewers is hurt, and I know we got a Manning at Texas. When Ewers is no longer hurt, that's going to be a conversation for Sarkisian to say, hey, do I stick with the hot hand whose last name is Manning and they are loving it as far as like ratings and eyeballs, or do I go back with yours? But I think Alabama is the best team in the country. I think Georgia's right there. But I think Texas, if anybody's going to break up this love fest, it's going to be them. Because like I said, they would have beat Alabama 2 years in a row if Ewers wouldn't have got hurt that first year and then the backup had to come in. They would have went 2-0 against Alabama. I will see what happens, but I am excited to see what's going to go. I wish does Tennessee play Texas anytime soon? UT versus UT. I'm looking forward to see those type of matchups in the future.
Well, it's the battle for the real UT because Tennesseans all know this fact, and as a native-born Tennessean, there would be no Texas without the Tennesseans who went out there, like Sam Houston and Davy Crockett and the Alamo.
There's no Texas without Tennessee. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, what was Waylon Jennings' song? T for Texas, T for Tennessee. I mean, come on, it's going to be the battle for UT. So, guys,
I mean, I dated a girl once in College Station and one in Austin once. Not at the same time, but
could she do all those cheers?
No, that's what it got weird. I went to Midnight Yell and I was like, "Whoa, this is weird. I'm out."
They love their school, Kevin. I mean, and guys, I think the game of the week. We're going up to Fayetteville Thursday night. We're going up for the Tennessee-Arkansas game. we're guests of Arkansas people up there for some stuff we've got to do up there. I am so fired up about going up there. And my wife is Evolved for life. And she goes, well, what am I going to wear to the game? We're going to be with the Arkansas people. I said, just, wear stripes. I don't know. But
wear what the money's wearing.
That's right. That's right. Don't get mad at your money. But anyway, Kevin, Missouri and Texas A&M, that's got to be the game of the week. Kind of give us your Cliff Note version of what you think's going to happen, because the last time we saw Missouri play, they had to play a full 60 plus 2 overtimes to beat this Vanderbilt team. Guys, is showing a lot of fight. I'm proud of them.
Can I, before you answer, can I just say one thing? I just want, and this is like, I don't know. I know this seems uneducated, but it just feels like, not that you don't have a lot of tape on Texas or anything like that, but now you're in the SEC. Ben Troupe, like, did you see as you're like, man, this is not that good of a Mississippi State team? It's like, it's not like they're struggling to win, but do you just see like it's starting to, like, the grind is starting to happen? Do you think players right now are starting to feel it a little bit? Because it felt like, to me, it was like, we're going to win this game. It's going to be a win. But it was just like, I was just watching. It was like, man, Texas finally puts the foot down on him and takes him out. But it just is like, hey, man, like, as a player, I'm thinking, man, these players are like, man, we shouldn't have to work this hard to beat these guys.
Well, Texas is going to outman you at a certain point. But Mississippi State also, they ain't going to just lay down. I don't think
just overall that the fact that they're in the SEC, this is like welcome to the SEC a little bit. You know what I mean?
Look, Texas fans cannot wait. Let me tell you something. Texas fans cannot wait to be in the top 12. I mean, and make the 12-team playoff. And if they're in the Final Four, you're never gonna see these people. I played with Vince Young, Michael Griffin. When people say we love SEC football, Texas love Texas. You ask them, forget the Cowboys, forget the Texans, forget the 37 colleges that's in the state of Texas. It's about UT, and they want the world to know.
Yeah,
Manning decided not to go to the UT in Tennessee and not to go to Ole Miss. That's how powerful of a brand the University of Texas is. So I mean, and the SEC football, I think Kentucky just reminded us all, anybody can be beat now.
Yeah.
We get caught up in the pageantry of who's the quarterback, who's the coach. No coach has done more for their school without winning a national championship than Coach Stoops of Kentucky. Those dudes are competitive, and I think for Tennessee, Sarkisian can say anything you want. He know good and well he ain't gonna lack 3 things that you need in college: recruiting, check; resources, check; and money. He ain't lacking any one of them. And it's showing. Now, like I said, Georgia's coming to Texas. And it's not, that's gonna be a slug. My Gators got to go to Texas. I'm gonna have to just probably turn my cable off that Saturday. It might get a little rough for me. But at the same time, I played against every Manning but Arch. I played against Peyton Manning in the pros. That was unfair. There's no way we could beat him. I played against Eli at Ole Miss, went 0-2 against Eli. That's in Oxford at home. But it's good to have a Manning on your team. And Texas right now, like I said, they got a Manning, and they say the boy clocked the faster freaking running. I mean, he's faster than Tyreek Hill. What in the world? I mean, good Lord. So, but I think Mississippi State just shows.
Come on now.
He did in that sprint.
Yeah,
but let me.
I got Tyreek Hill, and I'll take your money
I got to get the hell out of here. I got to go.
I'm going to paint a picture of what you mean.
Take your money all day. Yeah. I'll take Tyreek Hill, and you take.
Well, I thought Manning's competitive speed, Kevin, is really good. I think when you talked about the grind, as a long-time commissioned salesman, you can have the best month you've ever had.
Door to
and
door.
on the 31st of that month at midnight, the next day you start off with a 0 in production. That's what you got to do every damn week in the SEC. You think, oh, man, I did like I tell people, the best person I've ever ridden with, Donnie Forsythe, the best triathlete I've ever known, him and Vic Perini. You'd be out on a ride. You'd think it was going to be a 50-mile ride. Becomes a 60 or 70. Okay, how much further? Just around the corner. You learn
over the other bend.
You don't know which corner.
Down yonder.
So that, as great as that workout or great as your accomplishment was, Kevin. Okay, next week you got to do it again. So now this year, October 12th, the Red River Shootout. Texas plays Oklahoma in Dallas, and then the next week they get to go home and host Georgia. That's the grind, isn't it, Kevin?
Welcome to the SEC.
Yeah, Brendan's absolutely right. There's no let up, and that's what separates the SEC. Mississippi State didn't let up. They pushed Texas. They made Texas work, and that's going to happen week in and week out. And that Saturday of October 19th, while Georgia is in Austin, Texas, Alabama is going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Woo.
That is a big-time doubleheader right there.
I love that nighttime game there.
Those are playoff implications. Those are national championship implications right there. I can't wait. There's a lot of good football before then, but can't wait to get to that Saturday.
Mm-hmm. I just got a text from one of my pledge brothers from college at Auburn talking about the frustration of fans. And we're talking about how frustrated fans can be. And you mentioned, Ben, when Florida plays at Texas, and it's a frustrating year. The May family, they're typical of the Auburn people that I know. They come from Tuscaloosa, from Birmingham, to every Auburn game, regardless. I mean, because if you don't back them in the toughest of times, quite frankly, growing up as a kid whose parents used to take us outside the locker room as little kids, my dad said, boy, they need you a hell of a lot more after a loss than they do a win. And he goes, if your mother and I ever left one of your games early because you were losing, and I said, no, sir. He goes, that's right.
Well, that would mean you were walking home. That would be really effed up, dude.
Well, but you know what I mean.
You lost, boy.
Yeah, you lost.
You're
what
walking home. Get walking.
This is the
You're
cool thing.
Walking. You're done.
And Brenda knows as a parent of a soccer, competitor, you're everywhere.
Yeah, I make Stella walk home. That's what I do.
Yeah. But this is what's so cool about the mental part of it. And Ben and Kevin and Brenda and everybody watching, it's that grind, man. Kevin, a lot of people
makes grit.
Want to throw in the towel. Auburn, when they beat Georgia in 2005, 31-30, Devin Aromashadu caught that 63-yard pass from Brandon Cox out of Hewitt Trustful, the quarterback, 31-30. Auburn's lost 8 straight in Athens. Prior to that, they'd won 6 of 7 in Athens. Used to be the home field disadvantage. And this is a great information I got from a column written by Philip Marshall, Auburn Undercover, this morning, about how Georgia took control of the Deep South's oldest rivalry. And Georgia has won 16 of 19 in the series since then, including the SEC championship game rematch in 2017, 3 weeks after Auburn had beaten then number 1 Georgia 40-17 at the Jordan-Hare Stadium. You look at it, Auburn back in 2005 led that series 53-48-8. Now Georgia has a lead 64-56-8 in that series. Is it still a rivalry? Of course it is. Michigan lost 15 of 16 to Ohio State until the Fighting Harbaughs solved that riddle and won 3 in a row, and they created a scandal to get Harbaugh out of coaching. Yeah, he pulls his pants up like mom jeans, wears white socks and birth control shoes with those birth control glasses and a hat.
Time out. What is mom jeans? Tell me right now what a mom jean is. Is it
I asked this question to Audrey. It's the jeans that some of the women will wear, like pulled up. Like some people wear their pants up like waiters,
Mom jeans is when you got deodorant on your pants. They too high. That's what it is. You don't got to do all that. We used to Norm Child, the old offensive coordinator for USC, when he came to the Titans. We used to tell Norm, pull your
no one here is single but me. I should just leave this conversation.
I am. On top of your pants, they're too high. Pull them down. That's it.
Well, it is funny because Brendan, I asked Audrey on the way down to Auburn. It was raining cats and dogs, Kevin. It stopped around Birmingham. And then, Kevin, I don't know if you have – I bet you do have influence there with the city. They have one thoroughfare.
I bet
once you get over the mountain in Mountain Brook and Homewood, all the way out past Chelsea, 280, and it is so crowded. I mean, we were 45 or 50 minutes, and we tried to time it Friday to miss rush hour.
No. Not possible.
What? But
It's always rush hour on 280, Rob. You should know that.
It never slows down.
Except if you go to an Auburn game and you come back at 3:00 in the morning when you get
with a
done writing.
hurricane
Then
blowing up.
there's no traffic.
You got that whole thing.
Yeah, and it is. But I'll tell y'all something. And Brendan, you're looking at Florida from your perspective, and y'all, Kevin and Ben. I don't know if y'all saw the interview that Brendan and Buddy did with Urban Meyer last week, talking about the standard at Florida. And the takeaway from that, Urban Meyer said, if you're going to be the running backs coach at the University of Florida, you better be the best running backs coach in America. I think that what I'm seeing at some schools, they're okay with being okay. You've got to demand excellence. And if you raise the bar higher, you know what? Butch Thompson, Auburn's baseball coach, gave me the best quote in memory. He said, the problem with today's society is too often we aim too low and hit. That's a good point. You should aim high. Now, you don't want to aim so high that you never feel like you accomplished something. But if you train with people who are better than you, it will make you better. Don't run with people who you're way faster than if you're trying to get faster. You got to also have that internal clock of yourself. Anyone that runs track and field, and Ben, you did, knows that in the relays, they put you in different heats. You're running against the clock. You're not running necessarily against the people right next to you because that's how they do it. They trick you. Guys, as we close out, let's think about this. Best games coming up. We talked about this weekend. There's a lot of football. We have not even gotten into October yet. All these people that are wanting to throw in the towel, pull over to the side of the road, turn your windshield wipers on. If you got to, put your head out the window. Yeah. There's a lot of football to be played.
Don't do that because it's illegal. But and Rob, I don't know. Rob had two espressos this morning. We'll have to talk to Audrey about your coffee intake.
Okay.
I control Rob's diet. Listen, Brent, tell me about Florida because I know that's why you're here. What do you think of the matchup? I know we touched on it briefly. I think Kevin, you can weigh in on the fact that every game's a must win, but this one is like a respecting in the state that you've been the big dog for in the state of Florida forever as far as UCF is concerned. For them to come in and win is that the biggest embarrassment? I mean, is that the lowest thing? Because wait. Because you could be in Vegas at like a bowl game and have to kick a field goal not to blank, not to be the first team in Florida history to have a shutout. I mean, that was embarrassing. But can you is that what the most embarrassing thing, Ben? Lose to UCF?
No, because I think UCF. No, absolutely not. And here's the thing: Florida hasn't been a big dog. Florida is the biggest brand in the state of Florida, and I think
to lose to UCF, you don't think that would be that wouldn't be top?
No. It would be embarrassing. It wouldn't be the biggest embarrassment. I mean, we've lived through McElwain, we've lived through Muschamp. I mean, we've seen.
What's the worst? What's the most embarrassing?
What's the most embarrassing moment since I've been in Florida?
Yeah, not because it's personal. I think
Did you see Kentucky last year?
I was there.
No. I'm just saying, let me listen. As a person that's watched way too many Florida games in my lifetime, we was fighting. I remember we was playing the Raging Cajuns and had to block a punt to win. You remember Georgia Southern? Yeah. You remember Georgia Southern?
They didn't throw a pass.
My friend Tom Schmidt played at Georgia Southern.
Memory lane with these bad experience. UCF. If this is UCF in the early 2000s, this would be an embarrassment.
Yeah, but the fan base is bigger, and they're going to talk so much smack.
Listen, I know. Listen, my daughter lives in Central Florida. I had to go to her games. The UCF fans be wearing their T-shirts and different things. No. Look, I do my best to try not to use the words embarrassing because that will be saying you're playing an inferior opponent. UCF is not inferior.
What if they blow you out of the water?
If they blow us out the water, I'm going to do what I normally do. I'm going to go in my screaming room, and I'm going to scream again and do all kind of stuff. And then I'm going to come back to X, and I'm going to try to use logic because I'm telling you, as much as – no, Brendan, I wish I could say the things you say. Don't you think I wish I could do it? But I know – but here's the thing.
I have a really cool job.
No, Brendan, I'll say something, and next thing you know,
road again.
I'm a Florida Gator tight end. Ben Troupe said, so I have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Listen, what I say to my
Listen,
wife,
Smoke,
goes to
I know what
football,
you're saying, brother.
I can tell her stuff because she don't even know what I'm saying. When I say Billy Napier, man, he's gonna have to do better. She'll say, "Who is that?" And so it's good to have conversations with her because she can't really rebut what I'm saying. But I will say this: once again, Florida has gotten to this point. It's how we look when we play. More, yes, you want to get the win. That's already been stated. Mm-hmm. But how you look, because it can't look like Miami. Good God, it cannot look like that. And Cam Ward is proven to be a lot better than I thought he was going to be, but it just long as it don't look like that. Mm-hmm.
All right,
wait,
Kevin.
No, whoa. Focus. Can you finish? Did you? So what's your? What's
my thing is, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good back and forth. I don't know. I like the fact that they're going to come in motivated because of what happened against Colorado. But I think Florida has. Listen, Florida got to do this. Florida has to do this. Stop the run, get out the field on third down, generate offensive plays that go vertical, not horizontal. I don't want to see no horizontal play calling. Don't do that. You know who do horizontal play calling? It's the bobblehead football players. Little itty bitty babies. They got the big helmet.
That is so profound.
They run horizontal. We need to run vertical, and we'll see what happens.
Wow, that is profound. That is
Kevin. I agree with that.
Amazing stuff, Ben Troupe. Wow, you brought it today. Hey, can you just tell me who you think wins or loses?
Florida. I think Florida wins. I think Florida wins the game.
How much?
I think Florida wins the game.
By how much?
Our defense. Give me 31-28 Florida. It's going to be a slugfest, though. It's going to be a slugfest.
Kevin, you heard what he said. I like that description, what he said about going vertical. Everybody says in the NFL, if you're a running back and you can't run between the tackles, you either won't get drafted or you won't have a long career. And let me say, Kevin, this discussion today has been fantastic because we've gotten into a lot of stuff. To all the fan bases out there, depends on how old you are. If you were just born last week, you don't know it. We all have followed our teams and gone through cycles that'll drive us crazy.
What awesomeness is that?
The winning and the losing.
Do y'all see this right here?
It's backwards.
So listen. So this is me, and this is my daughter, right?
That's awesome.
So and basically, what my wife did, she made me a book. She said, "You in the book business, huh?" So this is the greatest book. This is the greatest book I will never publish. Yeah, you will always be my little girl. I got it for my birthday, so I take it everywhere I go. So whenever somebody want to talk trash, I go, "Show me your book. Show me your book." If you know your daughter. You don't have one. It's called Get on My Lap. I'm just
one thing I've learned.
You need to get you one of these, man. I'm telling you, it's the greatest thing ever.
Get me one. I'll put it up.
Hey,
I got it on the Wall of Fame back there.
The people. One thing I've noticed, guys, is you hear a lot of negativity during the week. I mean, and we talk about a lot of stuff on this show. You ever notice when you get down to the game and you're at the tailgate and you're at the stadium sitting there around thousands of other people who have invested a lot of money into season tickets and seat licenses and tailgating, hotels, gas, food, all that. You don't hear the negativity. In fact, you'll be run out of your section if you're real negative. People don't want to hear that stuff. So I think it's cool to have the discussion, but by game time, Kevin, don't you agree when people are in a different mindset? And I want to say before we close, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us.
I need Kevin Scarbinsky's take on the game, on the Florida game, like before he goes, because it's personal, so I need everyone's take on what you think's going on before you go. I'm sorry, Rob.
I'll give you two quick things.
Scarbinsky said you're gonna do this
because I might gamble, so I need Kevin Scarbinsky's take.
You don't want to gamble. You don't gamble based on my take.
Are you kidding me? You're like the man.
But
you're the man.
Florida's got to win. And because they've got to win and they've had a week off, I think they will win. I think it'll be close. UCF will bring it, but I think it'll be close. But I want to tell you guys the most telling comment on this show today. This Saturday, October 5th, on the day, the renewal of the Deep South's oldest rivalry, Rob Brown, Auburn man, Rob Brown said the biggest game in the SEC is not Auburn at Georgia.
Yep.
It's Missouri at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know about where the Auburn football program is.
Yeah.
Please get it together.
And I thought about that this morning, but when I was reading Philip Marshall's column from Auburn undercover. And I'm like, that is crazy, because growing up, I've been to so many Auburn, Georgia games. I've been to a bunch in Athens. I've been to a bunch in Auburn. And, like Philip Marshall said, anything's a possibility, but it's going to be really tough. And if you're Auburn, you cannot say, let's just keep it close and respectable. You're like, at Auburn, you win or you lose. And you got to think like that. But, yeah, we're going up there, part of the show. We're going to be up in Fayetteville, some stuff. But I will say this, Brendan, you can see the interest of this Central Florida game. This is a personal deal. It's Orlando coming to Gainesville. And there's a lot of skin in the game, man. That's what makes this stuff so much fun. Kevin Scarbinsky, the Birmingham lead, Scarbo knows, Ben Troupe, 84 Reasons, executive producer Brendan Martin. Guys, we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. We're the most blessed people. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Don't ever forget, there are a lot of people going through pure hell right now where that hurricane hit. If there are ways that we can help spread the word to help those people, get them to the show. Brendan will put it up here, and we will do everything we can. But thank you, everybody, for watching, for our guests. Unbelievable insight from Coach Ellis Johnson and this panel. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Make it a great day. I'll be at the Memphis Touchdown Club tonight to hear Ryan Silverfield. So football lives, man. Take care.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.